Queen Adelina did not seek to be queen in a governing sense. Rather, this was a responsibility foisted upon her by her husband's untimely death. Unlike many women of her day, she was fond of reading, and wanted to look forward to days spent in the library instead of the courtroom. Regardless of her newfound power, she was nonetheless forced to forego these passions until her son was finally of age. A particular confrontation with a nobleman would galvanize her to be as involved in her new office as she could possibly be. As she was dragging her feet to the throne room, he said to her in passing, "I could snatch that throne from a man twice your worth, so I hope you remember your place when you sit there." She commanded the guards to subdue him, and they lowered him to his knees. She removed all his rings and his noble robes, and stripped him of his titles, and made him walk home, naked. It was an unorthodox punishment that made some courtiers chuckle, but regardless, her message was received. She was the undisputed, absolute monarch of Romania, and not one soul would get away with cheating her of the respect her unwanted office afforded her. On the 2nd of June, 1737, Queen Adelina petitioned Pope Ioannis XIX for an alliance, which she accepted, securing Romania's future through an alliance with the strongest empire in the world at the time, just as it had been done with Germany before its collapse. The people already preferred her to her late husband. In 1741, Mazandaran invaded revolutionary Anatolia with the goal of stopping the revolution, as the revolutionary government was supporting successful rebellions right on their doorstep in places like Georgia and Kandar. On the 1st of January, 1743, Mazandaran won, putting Theodotos Chrysoloros III on the throne of Anatolia, taking the eastern marches of the kingdom and forcing them to cede another quarter of their holdings to the Mamluks. The revolution, it seemed, was dead. On the 5th of December, Vlad Teplis I ascended to the throne of Romania, his mother peacefully stepping down and allowing her son to take power. On the 29th of May, 1744, Romania was called to arms by the Papal State to defend against Deccan in the Decani Papal Nationalist War. Deccan called Yemen, Mazandaran, Makassar, and Ava into the war on their side, which meant that Romania was to deal with all of them first, as they shared a border with Mazandaran. Romania accepted the call to arms, prepared itself for a bloody defensive war, and hoped that the Papal State would pull its own weight in the coming conflict. Around 80,000 men were moved from the western border with Wallachia and marched west to invade through Azaraba, the only Mazandaran province which bordered Romania in the east. Meanwhile, the English West Indies began to export great amounts of coffee, popularizing it in the rest of Western Europe. The invasion was going well, as Mazandaran was poor at defending much of their territory. However, on the 22nd of September, they invaded with 129,000 men, taking Constantinople by surprise. This army was led by their Sa'ad himself, Sa'ad Udawla Dad Burzimir. In response, Kral Vladut Teplis instructed his men to follow a scorched earth policy, killing everyone and destroying everything that they encounter that is not Romanian or allied in origin. Stories of Romanian brutality spread well beyond the boundaries of the Romanian kingdom, and Kral Vladut wanted it to be that way. When nearly 90,000 papal forces landed in southern Persia, the war began to turn in their favor. Between the wanton cruelty of Romanian soldiers in the north and the unlimited resources of the papal soldiers, Mazandaran was being taken without delay or mercy. The horde of soldiers led by Udawla was having trouble sieging many of the interior Romanian territories because they brought mostly infantry, finding artillery pieces too expensive to maintain supply lines for. By 1746, however, Romania was siphoning money once again, spending nearly 200 ducats a month between the upkeep of the massive fort network and the hungry armies in foreign lands. The crown could not keep this up. The Battle of Sancar saw 42,000 Romanian soldiers defeat 38,000 Mazandarani, only to attract the ire of two more 30,000-man armies. This battle was about to be lost. Outflanked and outmaneuvered, the Romanians lost 30,000 men. This was before 30,000 papal soldiers came to save the day, proving that the papal state was indeed pulling its weight. The last battle meant that Mazandaran had to pull its force out of Romania, however, and therefore meant that Romania could take back the territories taken by Mazandaran and Deccan. 33,000 men were raised for the task. In 1748, just as Romania was about to go bankrupt, the war ended with a papal victory. Mazandaran and Deccan were forced to annul their treaties with each other, as well as pay war reparations to the papal state and Romania. Another victory under the belt of a Romanian monarch. On the 1st of November, 1754, after so many wars left the Anatolian Peninsula weakened, the Greek and Masalian minorities joined forces in Kandar to rebel, and after a period of open insurrection, reformed Armeniakan, putting a distant relative of the last emperor who had since been living in the Mongol court on their restored throne, named Phokas Philaretos III. Truly, empires may fall, but often the people that built them are much harder to kill. Sensing an opportunity to secure a friendly ally to the east, Kral Vladut offered the Second Armeniakite Empire an alliance, alongside a gift of 5,000 ducats. A royal marriage was also secured, making Prothymia the new queen and wife of Kral Vladut. On the 1st of July 1759, Pope Ioannis XX abolished slavery in the Papal State and all of its holdings. Being the largest and most powerful colonial power, the transatlantic slave trade, which saw a sharp decline thereafter, as many nations were sure to follow. Beginning in 1760, Kral Vladut began to foster spy networks in Wallachia and Bavaria in order to sow discontent amongst their respective populations. In 1761, Wallachia took part of Anglo-Esque Austria proper, making known their enmity for their old masters. On the 23rd of February 1766, Gotland formed the Empire of Scandinavia with a handful of other Nordic kingdoms and became a major power in Europe almost overnight. Queen Aline Ilpo II chose Wallachia, Bavaria, and Riga as her rivals. As such, Romania and Scandinavia started on good terms from the very formation of that northern power. A royal marriage was arranged between the two within the year. In May, Scandinavia offered Romania an alliance, and this offer was accepted. Romania was essentially immune to unprovoked attacks now, and could choose its fights wisely. King Vladut died in 1772, and much like his father, he died too soon. His son was still technically a child, and so Queen Prothymia became the Queen Regent of Romania. Her regency was exceptionally short, however, as her son came of age and assumed the throne in June of that year. Kral Ventila Tepulus II was a calm man, and it was believed that his reign would be a diplomatic and peaceful one.